Hello and welcome to On the Other Hoof. As we mentioned, as we enter a pretty busy festive period, we have 3 races to cover from Aintree tomorrow, including 2 over the Grand National fences with the Grand Sefton and the Beach Chase. Also, it's the return of last year's RSA winner in a listed chase at Aintree, alongside last year's Grand National winner, Many Clouds. Also, 4 races to cover at Sandown with the Grade 1 Tingle Creek and also the Grade 1 Henry VIII Novices Chase. Unfortunately, no Simon Safe or Undersowed to go to war with. Vibrato Valtat is your favourite for the Tingle Creek as we stand at the moment. We've also got 2 good handicaps to come courtesy of Sandown, 1 over hurdles, and then the final race on the card will be the London National run over 3 miles and 5 furlongs. Stamina will be at a premium there, but we have a good card of action tomorrow from Sandown and also from Aintree. And to join me to cover all the racing tomorrow is Adam Webb. Good evening.
Evening.
How are we?
I'm okay. I don't know if I'm getting the flu or not. It feels a bit fluey.
I mentioned festive period, and then you mentioned that.
Yeah. You normally get the flu around Christmas anyway.
Good way to bring the mood down. One person that doesn't have flu is Callum Adele. He's had an eventful few weeks. He got hit by a bus 2 weeks ago, maybe a week and a half, and this week he's been dragged off to a Christmas fair.
Poor Callum. He's also off to Hong Kong as well on Sunday, so we're not going to see him for a good few weeks.
It's not a bad thing.
Oh, me.
No, we will miss Callum Adele in all seriousness. I think he'll be away for about, I don't know how long he's actually in Hong Kong for. He goes on Sunday though, we can say that. But a good day of racing tomorrow, Adam.
Yeah, a lot. It feels quite scary actually, because it's a day where you could have plenty of confident selections and confident bets, and it could go one of 2 ways. It could go really well or it could go really bad. That's how I've looked at tomorrow. It's a do or die.
I completely agree with it. I've got about 5 horses that I'm currently vying up to be a potential nap a little bit later on, but more on that a little bit later. We will start off though with 1 horse to follow from the start of the season. We did ask Noel Williams and George Gorman and also Nick Schofield to put forward 3 horses each for or to follow for the rest of the season. George and Noel have both had winners so far this season. Violet Dancer being George's, and also Noel Williams put up Brary Queen, who won last week at Doncaster. Congratulations to both of them. Nick Schofield is lagging at the moment. I don't think he's actually had a winner out of the 3 that he's given us, but I did ask him for a quote a bit earlier on about Vincenzo Mio, who he put up as a horse to follow at the start of the season. Runs tomorrow at Sandown in the handicap hurdle that we're going to be covering a little bit later on, and he just replied with saying it wins. So the money has come for Vincenzo Mio at the moment. Well, how seriously we're taking that. He didn't really point to Vincenzo Mio losing at all. So best of luck with that. We will be covering 7 races throughout the course of this show. As always, though, you can get in touch with us at On The Other Hoof is our Twitter tag. Any question or fancy you've got about tomorrow's racing, do send it in. We'll read it out towards the end of the show. We've got 7 races to preview for tomorrow's action, starting with the 140 at Aintree, the Betfred Beecher handicap chase, a Grade 3 over the national fences, over 3 miles, 1 furlong, and 188 yards. 16 go to post, or 17 go to post here, Adam. It's going to be a pretty tricky event. It'll be fairly soft at Aintree as well tomorrow, so fairly attritional here.
Yeah, it'll be very attritional, soft ground, and as people know, I'm always trying to find the winner of this race as soon as the entries come out, and I'm always looking for one at a big price as well. Now, one of my fancies is at a bigger price, and I'll come to that in a minute, but he has been well backed throughout the week, so I'm interested to see how he goes. The favourite with most is Guniella, and his claims are obvious. He's an out-and-out stayer. Soft ground won't be an issue. He won the Midlands National, 3rd in the Scottish on faster ground. The concern tomorrow is he's up a mark of 150. Now, is this just a sighter? That's my main question. Because if he goes close tomorrow or even wins the race, that mark has gone for the Grand National. And there are several that I've got in that bracket of horses that maybe just here for sighters and don't want the marks going up too much. The likes of Union East, who will probably need the run as well. St. R, Thunder and Roses, Vic's Canvas also as well. We don't really want the marks going up any higher, which leads me to believe that I think Algernon Pasm, Nigel Twiston-Davies could have a very good day at Aintree and Sandown tomorrow. I think he could have both the winners of the Beecher and the Grand Sefton. We'll go into the Grand Sefton a bit later, but Algernon Pasm's got that profile that isn't usual for Beecher Chase winner. Most Beecher Chase winners have experience, but Touchwood, he's a sound jumper, and off that handicap mark, I think he's very dangerous with Ryan Hatch claiming 3. He did everything bar win at basically last time out at Bangor when he was backed off the boards. And this is the type of test that I think will suit him. And I also think it's significant that Twiston Davis had Boxbridge in the race, and they had talked him up earlier in the week. It's interesting he's not here, because if he had been here, I'd have been interested in him as well. Others to consider, I think Pinot de Rey and Dollar Tulo are two that I think will be going really well tomorrow. I think Pinot de Rey could actually be the first horse in Spin de Rey to actually win a race since the Grand National. Also many clouds later on as well. But Pinot de Rey, that run at Sandown, there was a lot of promise in that. And I've got no concerns about the ground. You'll know he'll get the trip. And I think this has been the plan since the start of the season. So I can see him going really well. Dollar Tulo, likewise, with Gavin Sheehan and Warren Greytrex in excellent form. Of those at the bigger prices, the one that I'm quite sweet on, and it was a horse that me and Luke gave a talking up to slightly for the Grand National. We didn't put him in our main fancies, but Portrait King was running a really good race in the National when he came down 3 out and unfortunately ended Davy Condon's career. But this is the type of race that I think could really suit him. His mark needs to go up if they have Grand National aspirations for him. It's interesting that Jim Bromont and Douglas Pride, who both had shares in Aurora's Encore, have bought into this horse. They've sent him to Patrick Griffin, who's got Maggio as well, who runs in Aurora's Encore's colours. They want 2 runners in the National. He has to go close here and maybe even have to win, or maybe even win another handicap as well to get his mark up for the spring. This looks an ideal test. The ground is no problem. He stays all day. I can see him go really well in this. Your likely winner is Algernon Pasm, and I wouldn't put you off Portrait King. He was as big as 33 to 1 earlier in the week. He's now as short as 12. I think he's got a big chance.
I don't think you're too far away, to be honest, with Algernon Pasm. I think you're completely right with the horses ahead of the handicap. The likes of Union East, if they won here, then that would be their season, especially for a Grand National campaign, completely out the window. Now, Union East is a horse that I've had a lot of respect for his still young career. Still only 7 and still improving as well. He's got a tongue time for the first time. I think he has the ability to go close, but like Adam says, if he does win tomorrow, then he's going to be in the deep 160s. And life's going to be very, very tough for him at the top table. Same goes for Guniella. He's only rated 150, but nonetheless, for the Grand National a little bit later on in the season, the last 2 seasons, they missed out for the mark being too low. The last thing they want to do is get to the Grand National and their mark be too high and not be able to win on that front. So I was second in the Grand National last year. I imagine all roads for him once more will lead all back to Aintree in April. There's not really a great deal that I could really pin my colours to in this. I think Adam gave a pretty decent talk up to Algernon Pasm. He'd probably be my most likely winner in the race. But one of the big price who I always sort of figured being a better horse than he's shown so far is Coward's Close. He was with Paul Nicholls. He's gone to Chris Gordon. Now, Chris Gordon, probably not at this sort of level, but at a lower level, he can get wins out of horses that have come from the Paul Nicholls yard. I'm not sure what the tie is there, but he has to race from, £3 out of the handicap tomorrow. Mark Goldstein takes the ride, a more than capable rider. It doesn't get too many chances at this sort of spear, so he'll be eager to take that. 33 to 1 about Coward's Close, who is a slowly but surely maturing horse. Still at 8, I think he still might need a little bit of time on that front, but he jumps very well. The ground shouldn't be a problem for him. He'll stay absolutely all day. He just seems to be a horse that's definitely going in the right direction and is definitely getting better as time goes on. I think 33 to 1 each way about him could be the each way value of the race. And I think I agree with Adam, to be honest, unfortunately, on board Algernon Pasm. That is the Beach Chase, though, the first race that we're going to be covering of 7 here on the Other Hoop this evening. The second of those races is the 155 at Sandown, the Racing Post Henry VIII Novices Chase, a Grade 1 over a mile, 7 furlongs and 119 yards. Vibrato Valtat won this race last year. He's currently the favourite for the Tingle Creek this time around. Also Hinterland, Captain Conan and Alfroth and the past winners of this race. Maybe not, Adam, the strongest of renewals of this particular event. Bristol Demai heading the market at the moment at 13 to 8. It's competitive, but maybe not top class.
It's not the strongest of renewals, I'll agree with that, but there are some nice horses in this. And Bristol Demai, I'd already mentioned Nigel Twiston Davis potentially having a really good day, and I think this will be one of his winners. This horse's jumping is his asset. He jumped so well. I remember early October, one of the lads at Nigel Twiston Davis's posted a video of him schooling, and the close-up of him jumping this open ditch was just unbelievable. He's got so much scope, and he's the dream for the cliches, basically, because he just jumps so well. Sandown's a track that's going to really suit him, and those 7 fences down the back where you need quick, accurate jumping are going to play to his strengths. He gets the weight as well because he's a 4-year-old. Obviously not as much as he used to. 4-year-olds used to get a real hefty allowance, but they've changed it now to not encourage 4-year-olds to go chasing. But this horse has just screamed being a chaser since he came over and won the juvenile hurdle at Chepstow. I think he wins this very comfortably tomorrow. The thing going further on in the season, does he want soft ground? Is that a necessity to him? Part of me thinks yes, but then part of me thinks no, because that run at Aintree behind All Yours, where he actually ran really well on decent ground. At the moment, though, you want to keep him at 2 miles, because with that exuberance, I don't see him getting much further. He may get further in time. As for May, it's interesting the coming back in trip with him. I think 2.5 is fine for him. I was half thinking that they may even step him up in trip, but I just think tomorrow, although he's jumped soundly on both his chase starts today, I just can see Bristol Demai getting him at it, and he cannot make a mistake tomorrow. He will be staying on up the hill, but I just think Bristol Demai will be too good for him. The Skeltons would have had to have been impressed with Willow Saviour's come back at Warwick, where he beat ASO. ASO came out last week, and Aidan Coleman did miracles to stay on him in that novice handicap at Newbury. I see him running well, but he's had his problems in the past, and I just see a horse like Bristol Demai going on to do better things than him. I'll mention the others quickly. Sizing Cadelco won last time, but I'm just not sure about him on this type of ground anyway. Bouveroy, it's an interesting that they're chucking him in at the deep end already. They could have easily gone for an easier beginner's chase, but Paul Nicholls has wasted no time after the Greatwood in deciding that they're going to go chasing with him. And Armad actually jumped really well last time out over course and distance when he was the outsider of the field. He could surprise at a big price. I don't see him winning, but I can see him going well. With Gary Moore in amazing form.
That's the same. Armad is being shown a complete lack of respect in the market. I know he's got a bit to find with Bristol Demai. He's only rated 130. Bristol Demai is 146. That's £16. He's also got to give a bit of weight to Bristol Demai. But I don't think Bristol Demai has to lead. I think he'd be more than happy taking a lead off of Armad for tomorrow. Other than Bristol Demai, nothing else is really going to go forward. Willow Saviour, could argue, will be forward, but nothing's going to go faster than Armad. It's going to be catch me if you can. He got into a fantastic record rhythm around Sandown last time out, beating 2 pretty decent horses, Golden Doyen being one of those. He let the form down slightly this afternoon, but it was more the fact that Armad had everything in trouble before the first of the railway fences. If he finds that rhythm again tomorrow, he's going to be a real threat to everything here. 16-1 is completely the wrong price about him. He should be, I'd say 8 or 9-1.
Yeah,
I think would be a fair enough price for Armad.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
There's just no way he's a 16-1 chance in this race. We mentioned Gary Moore's stringer in fine form, a 616-1 treble this afternoon. 3 winners on the Sandown card. The Yard are in fine form. Armad's in fantastic form. Forget about his run first time out of the fences at Plumpton. They're just trying to help him settle, and he just wouldn't do that. They tried to hold him up in last. It was a novice handicap chase as well, a very weak one at that, but just forget about that completely. He handled Sandown very well last time out. If he gets into the rhythm again, it's going to be very hard to catch indeed. He'd be the only the only bet I'd want to have in the race tomorrow. I think Bristol Demai is a bit too short. He jumps exceptionally well, but I think he is limited about the ability that he does have. His jumping really does help him out and helps him excel, but he isn't top class. And this isn't the strongest renewal of the Henry VIII. I think Armad, I think he could take a lot of beating tomorrow, to be honest. 16-1 is a huge price about him. Even if you're backing each way just to follow Bristol Demai home, if everything does click, then Armad could be very, very tough to catch in front end.
That's my way of thinking. I think Bristol Demai does win this, and I think Armad could chase him home. But it wouldn't shock me if any of them would win it. That's the thing. Well, it's one of those races. It's not top class.
You can poke holes in a lot of the others' form. Willow Saviour jumped well on the hole at Warwick on Chase debut, but that was coming off the back of a long absence. He made a few little niggly mistakes as well, which, okay, it's a novice first time over fences. You can't crap him too much for that. But the bounce factor then comes into it. He'd been off for a long time off the back of that. Ardemay still hasn't won in 2 outings, for all that he was behind more of that last time out. He seemingly is a horse that will take defences, but hasn't yet wowed me like Armad did last time out. Sizing Cadelco has to have masses of respect, being brought over by Henry de Bromhead, and Bouveroy, who knows what he's really going to do on Chase debut. He's a very classy horse at the hurdles, but it's a very, very tricky place to start him off over fences. I'm just saying, not necessarily he's an absolute certainty, but I think Armad is very, very disrespected in the market. 16-1 is a big, big price about a horse that made Sandown look very easy last time out, which isn't an easy thing to do whatsoever. Armad will be a selection for me. Bristol Demai and Armad for yourself, Adam, right?
Yeah, well, not both of them. Well, Bristol to my wins, I'd say Armada chasing home. If you want to do a forecast, I'll put you off.
Armada wins. The 215 at Aintree is up next. The Betfred Lotto £100,000 cash giveaway chase. Listed race over 3 miles and 210 yards. Just the 4 runners here, Adam, but you wouldn't really find too many better 4-runner races than this.
No, you wouldn't. It's a really good renewal of this race. You've had some interesting winners in the past. Union East won this a couple of years ago. Sam Winner won this last year. Paul Nicholls is represented again by Southfield Theatre, who was disappointing on his comeback behind Coney Green. Nicholls has said that he wasn't fit enough, but there did look to be an underlying problem there. I'm not completely convinced by him. I'd have been all over him if it had been good ground. The worry tomorrow is that it's genuinely soft ground. It could be really testing out there, and it leaves it to me to be between the Frontier Market and Don Poley Many Clouds. Minora hates soft ground, so I don't see him going well tomorrow. I think Don Poley at the prices is worth taking on. Aintree Marmay course is a track that I don't see suiting him. He is this long galloping, really wants a testing track, and Aintree Marmay course isn't for him, basically, for me. And I think tomorrow, plus it's his first start of the season, Many Clouds will be fitting up here. I think Many Clouds could win this tomorrow, actually giving Don Poley £5 as well. And it'd be great to see him do it, because I really want this Grand National Hoodoo gone, because it is a load of rubbish. I have my own theories behind it. I'm not going to go into that, but I just want something. In fact, Pinot de Rey and Many Clouds both did it tomorrow. It'd be 2 fingers up at all those that say, oh, the National finishes horses, because it doesn't. Basically, trainers just want to plot out to win the race again. I know but Oliver Sherwood has, because I missed the Hennessy last week, but this looks an ideal opportunity for him to win a race. The ground is perfect for him. I mean, I said in the Grand National preview, I said about Many Clouds that he ran really badly on all 3 occasions at Aintree, but to be fair, in his novice chase behind Holywell, he ran better than what I thought, because I watched that race back the other day. He was still there going to the second last. He just got tired at the end of a long, hard season, so the track's no concern for me. His jumping is really good. Don Poley, for me, I'm still slightly suspect. Not about his jumping, it's just that he spends longer up in the air, so Many Clouds could easily go out in front, dictate his own pace like he did in the Argento, and could really put Don Poley to it. I don't think Don Poley is going to be 100% here. Many Clouds will be closer to it than him. So I think at the prices, Many Clouds is a bet, and I hope he wins tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to have to completely agree with you with Many Clouds. I don't think Don Poley's really a horse that I want to be piling into first time out, especially in a race like this. Brian Cooper's come over to ride him. You'd imagine he would be fit enough to do himself justice. Willie Mullins is sending him over from Ireland to tackle this race. It's still 22 grand to the winner, so it's a very valuable pot as well. And also, he's now a second season chaser, so you want to get that off to the best possible start. But at odds on, you couldn't really be backing Don Poley at about 10 to 11. I'm happy to let him win at that price, but for all intents and purposes, I'm completely, perfectly happily inclined to agree with you, Adam, on Many Clouds. Ran a pretty decent race in the Charlie Hall first time out. That form's been franked at no end, with Q Card being such a fantastic winner of the Betfair Chase. But this is a weaker race than the Charlie Hall was. Minora probably won't act on the ground. Southfield Theatre was, you could look at it many ways, but he was very disappointing at Sandown behind Coney Green on his reappearance. He didn't even beat 7th Sky Home in the end. So the jury for me is out about Southfield Theatre. Interesting to put a tongue tie on him first time at 6 to 1. Again, he's another one that you just let run. If you were going to have a bet in the race, then it would be Many Clouds. I think he showed more than enough spark really on his reappearance, and if there's any chinks in Don Poley's armour, then Many Clouds is going to find it. Leighton Aspel takes a ride once more, and I completely agree with you. Unfortunately, Adam, Many Clouds I do think will take all the beating tomorrow.
Yeah, I'd just like to see this Hoodoo gone, because I think it's a load of rubbish.
It'd be a good double to have, Pinot de Rey and Many Clouds.
Oh, I'd love it if both of them could win tomorrow. It'd be just fantastic. But
it would get rid of the Hoodoo in emphatic style as well.
Oh.
Well, move on. Back down to Sandown now for the 225. The Jumeirah Hotels and Resorts December and handicap hurdle over 1 mile, 7 furlongs and 216 yards. This is the race at the top of the show that we mentioned the quote from Nick Schofield. We did ask him just very quickly for Vincenzo Mio, a horse that he put up to follow at the start of the season on our National Hunt Horses to Follow list. And he said nothing else about Vincenzo Mio other than wins. Harry Cobden takes £7 off. He has been price-wise, and there is money coming for Vincenzo Mio in places. He is now favourite. You can still get 6 to 1 relatively about him. But Adam, it's not quite a straight cut as that. It's a very competitive handicap hurdle.
It's a good race, actually. I quite like the look of this race. Obviously, Vincenzo Mia has his chance. He was 8-1 earlier. He's as short as 11-2 now, maybe even 5. Yeah, he's he needed that run at Sandown, and I can see the clear case for him. Harry Cobden takes 7 off. He's effectively running off a mark of 1-2-2, and you'd be disappointed if he wasn't going close here. Some Plan is favourite on the racing post. I've got the prices up there, but Some Plan is mainly favourite. Didn't you put him up in the Supreme Novice as an outsider?
Yeah, I think it was about 40-1. He led for most of the way. He just got tired coming down the hill. I think he was too big last year, without sounding like a simpleton. He just hadn't grown into himself yet.
I get what you're saying. I was impressed by his win at Musselburgh when he won really well on that occasion. I think he'll make a nice chaser. I just think you probably need this. A lot of the Brookhouse horses have been like Stellar Notion last week. Wolf was badly hampered and maybe probably needed the run as well. But I think he'll need the run. He'll run an okay race. Devilman wants better ground and ran all right in the Great Wood. He wasn't given the best of rides. And I think he'll improve from that experience as well in Big Field Handicap. Little Rockefeller's high enough considering they want to go for the Coral Cup. So that mark needs to stay down rather than go up. The fancy is the Imperial Cup winner, Ebony Express. He ran okay in the Great Wood. I hate it when people name horses with female names and you get confused with their gender, like Susie's Connoisseur. Oh.
Is Ebony Express a girl's name?
Ebony is. Ebony's a female name, so that's why I've got confused. Anyway, I thought he ran okay in the Great Wood, and back at a course and distance where he's excelled in the past. He put up a career best when he won the Imperial Cup. Charlie Hammond takes £10 off the Dr. Richard Newland. I can see him going really well tomorrow. One other I'm going to mention. Do you remember Deep Trouble winning this race 2 years ago? What a ride by
I backed Urban de Savola. He was second.
I remember that. Oh, sadly no longer in training. He's been retired, poor old Urban de Savola. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Deep Trouble gets on. I don't know if they're going to stay over hurdles with him. I think there is still something to him over fences.
Yeah.
He was coming there against Barasa Valtat and Three Kingdoms when he fell heavily at the last. And I remember being fancied for the Arkle by Tom Segal when he was 100-1. Don't think he'd have won that. He might have gone well in there. He's interesting, but I just think he may just need this. I'm going to go with Ebony Express. I think he's got a good chance of winning this.
For me, when having a quick look at the race earlier on, there were 2 horses that really stood out to me by an absolute country mile. One of them was Devilman, who I put up the horse to follow. He won the 4-year-old hurdle at Cheltenham, was put up only £1 for that off 147, ran perfectly well in the Great Wood hurdle to say that the ground was far too soft for him on that occasion. It was probably a bit soft. Well, it was a bit softer on that occasion than it will be tomorrow. It doesn't actually look too bad at Sandown this afternoon. The ground should still be on the softer side, or about as soft as he'd really want it. But to say finish 6th in the Great Wood hurdle and then coming to a race like this, he would have to have every single chance. However, he will need them to go a bit of a clip. I think Some Plan, he may go forward if he is fit enough to do himself justice. He may just be out for the run tomorrow and may improve for that initial effort. Ebony Express will go forward as well. Nesterenko may not be too far away. In Deep Trouble as well, just hunting up the leaders along with Lil Rockefeller. So there's no real end to the potential front runners tomorrow. It's just which one will actually go forward. The other one that really stuck out to me was Vincenzo Mio. That was before talking to Nick. He shaped very, very nicely last time out. Just got a little bit tired later on in the day, which he was perfectly entitled to do after such a long layoff. He should strip much fitter at this time round. The tongue tie has stayed on, and that form can get a bit of a boost early on in the afternoon by Simply a Legend as well. It goes in one of our earlier races, but he ran perfectly well, Vincenzo Mio. Just went out like a light at about 2 out. He travelled very strongly throughout, jumped very well indeed. And the fact that Mr. Schofield was so bullish a little bit earlier on, and the money is coming for him, with price-wise aside, Vincenzo Mio could take a lot of beating tomorrow. I think he'd be the one to side with. But I will be on course tomorrow. I probably will have a reverse forecast with Devilman and Vincenzo Mio. I think those two are a long, long way ahead of their handicap marks that they've got at the moment. Devilman off a mark of 147, and Vincenzo Mio with Harry Cobden's £7 claim off a mark of 129. So those two would be the ones for me as we move on to the next race and the feature race of the weekend, the Betfred Tingle Creek Chase, a Grade 1 over a mile, 7 furlongs, and 119 yards. The Novices got their chance earlier on in the afternoon. Now 8 of them go to post this time around. Well, we weren't at 8, we're now at 7, because unfortunately, Adam, Simon Sig is a non-runner, leaving Vibrato Valtat at the head of the market, sitting pretty.
Yeah, cheers, Nicky. 7 runners now. This race was each way heaven earlier in the week when Undersow was in, and there was a horse that was a huge price that I considered backing, but left it because there were possibilities that he may not run. And I thought it was tremendous each way value, which was Summersby, but I'll talk about him in a second. I think Vibrato Valtat, with a lot against most of his opposition, I think this is a big opportunity for him to go and win a Grade 1 outside a novice company. He had a reputation before the Henry VIII last season of being a horse that was very tricky, didn't exactly find much off the bridle, but it's determined that a wind operation did the trick with him. And when he won the Henry VIII, it left me, you, Callum with egg on our faces, and he continued to progress from that. And he ran well enough in the Arkle, chasing Undersow's pace, and second at Aintree, and then he was unlucky in the Celebration Chase. He came back at the start of this season. He was really impressive when he won the Holden Gold Cup. The form of it isn't exactly much, but it's the style in which he did it. He made a mistake at the last, but I just think that was down to freshness and him being very keen running down towards it. And everything just points to him being the winner for me tomorrow. I mean, he does have something to find, but even though he's got something to find, I question his main rivals in what they've got to prove. So on that basis, Vibrato Valtat, I think, will win this. He's got a pace to chase with Special Tiara going out and making it, and I think he'll just stalk and pounce and scamper on up the hill with his turn of foot. Special Tiara, I'm not convinced about. That comeback run was shocking, and he needs to improve significantly on it. And although the ground is good to soft, I still think he wants it better than this. And I can just see him improving as the year goes on when we get towards Cheltenham and back here for the Celebration Chase, where he should get really decent ground. Side the Grugy, the jury's out with him. You're more positive about his winning the Holden Gold Cup.
Yeah,
Gary
people.
Moore,
I mean, it wasn't ideal, but people oversold it.
I
think they oversold it in a big way as well. I mean, like I say, it wasn't ideal, and I'd rather he did finish second or third. But come on,
his jumping wasn't particularly great. You've got to be honest. I know
it was okay, but again, people oversold his one mistake. Well, one bad mistake, but I don't want to quote Jamie Moore on what he said in an interview with me on Radio Yorkshire, but Side Grugy, he says, has never jumped well after a break. He did it. Wait, remember he unseated Jamie in the Aeon at Game Spirit at Newbury last season. His jumping's never been good off the back of a break. Jamie, he didn't know why that was. I have no idea why that was, but he's never the same horse off the back of a break. Whether I'd be backing him now at 9-2, I'm not sure. He could get 20-1 earlier on in the week, anti-post rules. That would have been a bit better, but 9-2, I'll be cheering Side Grugy on as a fan of the horse no more tomorrow.
I personally couldn't have him. This will be the run where it determines whether he's gone at the game or there is something there. I hope there's something there, but I'm not fully convinced. Joss's Hill, Jesus Christ. There's a horse that he's got so much talent. He's so naturally exuberant. His jumping over fences frightens me. And I personally think they've missed the trick not going back over hurdles. Apparently he's schooled well at home, but we were hearing this last year that he schooled really well, and then he gets to the race course and it was hair-raising at times. He did very well to finish third in the Arkle, and at Aintree he wasn't very good either. Ooh.
I was going to say, just put it out there just to test the water. He did beat Vibrato Valtat in the Arkle.
He did, but he was given a more patient ride. Vibrato Valtat, I think, suffered trying to chase down Undersow. It was the right thing to do tactically, because if they let Ruby go too far clear and then they're trying to make up ground late on, it may not work for them. So I can see why they did it with Vibrato Valtat. I thought it was the right thing to do on the day. But in hindsight, they may have been more patient with him. I think Summersby is your likely horse to chase home Vibrato Valtat. He is the bridesmaid in all these Grade 1 2-mile chases. It would be wonderful if he could win another, with Nina Carberry taking the ride for Mick Shannon. Henrietta might obviously still associate with the horse. But and he ran all right behind Sprinter Zachary. He was wrong at the weights with Sprinter. And I just think that they just brought him on perfectly for this. The other two, Third Intention's here for some prize money, and it wouldn't surprise me if he picked up 4th or 5th. Mr. Mole is just, I was saying it earlier in the week, I don't like Mr. Mole. He is trying to think of a nice way to say he's not the most trustworthy, and I can't think of a nice word to describe it, so I'll just leave it at that. Vibrato Valtat wins this for me, and I mean, this race will get slated, whatever Vibrato Valtat does tomorrow. If Vibrato Valtat win this by 15 lengths, everybody would say it's the worst division going, even though the 3-mile hurdling division is apparently rubbish. But Summersby will chase him home. So, yeah, whatever happens tomorrow, poor Vibrato Valtat will win a Grade 1 and he'll just get slated. And I'm not the biggest fan of the horse, so I don't know why I'm defending him so much. Oh.
One positive that you could bring out about Mr. Mole, and this is no insult to Sean Bowen at all. Barry Garrett's going to be riding in tomorrow now with the defection off Simon Sig. So at least you have got Barry Garrett on board, Mr. Mole tomorrow. Again, no offence at all to Sean Bowen. I wonder, could Sean Bowen potentially be rerouted to? Has he got any rides anywhere else at Sandown?
I'm not sure.
Because he could potentially. I imagine his old man would still give him a ride on Bois-Calorlan in the Beach Chase.
Potentially, maybe.
Is that all going to plan? But that's speculation. Let's not dwell too much on that. I did think at the start of the week Mr. Mole could be the potential fly in the ointment, but Special Tiara will likely be going along, and Mr. Mole won't get a soft lead on the front end. If he did, he'd be a danger to all. It would take a good horse to go past him if he did return to his best. But to say that he was poor at Cheltenham last time, that was an understatement, I think. And Paul Nicholls has even come out and said, we're just here for a bit of prize money. If he can pick up that, then absolutely great. But we don't expect to win whatsoever. His stablemate, Vibrato Valtat, is probably the most likely idea of the winner. Santos and Davis taking the ride. He's had a bit of a love-hate affair with Vibrato Valtat over the last year or so. He was actually on, was it Irish Saint, wasn't he, when Vibrato Valtat won the Henry Lead last season.
He was also victim when he rode Vibrato Valtat at Cheltenham in November. And to be fair, that day, it was the right ride because they were still unconvinced whether he actually went through with his efforts. And admittedly, he probably did give him too much to do. But at the same time, when you're riding a horse like him, and you've got that thought that maybe if he hits the front, he'll stop. That's how you had to ride him. And the morons that believed that he was the most genuine creature before that, now we look morons because he actually is a genuine horse. But at the time, it was commonly known that he wasn't the most genuine off the bridle. He didn't look to be the most genuine off the bridle.
We could say he's massively turned his career down. You have to take your cap off to him for that because he really looks like a very nice horse now. But I'd still take him on tomorrow. I don't know what it is. I'd still take Vibrato Valtat on. I think he probably would be the most likely winner. Head probably says Vibrato Valtat. Heart says Side Grugy. But I still want to give Special Tiara a bit of confidence. I thought he was excellent when he won the Celebration Chase, beating Sprinter Sacra, who wasn't at his best on that day. But he was slowly but surely getting there on very different ground as well. Good to Soft is probably about as soft as he wanted. At Kempton, you'll remember over the Christmas period last year, put in one of the best performances you will probably ever see over chase fences around Kempton. It was soft the ground that day. Barry Garrett got on and went from the front. Nothing else ever saw him whatsoever. Noel Feely takes the ride tomorrow. Sandown's his sort of track. If he can get into a rhythm out in front, really get jumping, and then he can get a few of these in trouble. And Vibrato Valtat, he is a horse, I think he needs to find that rhythm. I remember him running and winning at Warwick. Was it last season?
Kingmaker.
Yeah. It was his, was it? Yeah, it was the Kingmaker. Sorry, I was confusing him with his chase debut. But the Kingmaker, he did make a few little niggly mistakes. That was in lesser company. And Warwick's a similar sort of jumping track to Sandown. Yes, I know it's left-handed, Sandown's right-handed. But the fences come up thick and fast down the side of the course. Down the back straight at Sandown, you make one mistake, then you're on the back foot for the rest of the race because they're just going to be going faster and faster and faster for the rest of the race. If Special Tiara can get out in front tomorrow, can find that jumping rhythm, and can get the rest of them in trouble, then it's going to take a very, very good horse to beat him in the Side Grugy. I'd love to see him win. His Holden Gold Cup performance wasn't as bad as people made him out to be. He's never been the best of horses on his reappearance. He's never been anywhere near the horse that he can be on his reappearance. However, the vibes coming out the yard aren't that great, and also it would have. Well, like I said earlier, I'd rather it didn't happen. What happened in the Halden Gold Cup? I'd rather he did stick on dually fourth, second, or third. If he did, I'd probably be fancying him in this sort of race. But 9-2, like I say, I'll just be cheering him on as a fan of the horse rather than with my money on for tomorrow afternoon. And Summersby, as you mentioned, Adam, probably the most likely to follow home Vibrato, Valtad, or Special Tiara, whoever is in front. Summersby won't be too far away. Usually runs his race around Sandown, which always surprises me because it's a horse that, for me, for the top level, he's a dreadful jumper. He gets in tight to so many fences, but he's a lovable horse. He always tries his heart out. However, I just think he's getting a bit wise in his old age now. I think he had every single chance to go past Dodging Bullets in the champion chase, and he just would not go past. It's great to see Nimi Carberry get a ride in a Grade 1 on Summersby, but I just really have a feeling that Summersby is getting a little bit clever in his old age, and he may just be keeping it.
They could be a good combination, though. Maybe.
Completely agree.
Really help him, I think. I think it's a very good booking. Obviously, because of knockouts who won at Cheltenham, she gave him a brilliant ride. I thought he'd be a non-stayer, and she went and dispelled that. Imagine if she had a free claim in this. Oh.
I think she did doing very well to get Summersby home in front tomorrow. I'd love to see it, but I think she'd deserve every accolation that she gets tomorrow if she gets Summersby home in front. But for me, a Special Tiara. For Adam, it is Vibrato, Valtad. What's sure to be not a top-class renewal of the Tingle Creek with Underso and Simon Sigg both out, but it's competitive nonetheless.
One quick thing I want to say: if Simon Sigg had been in the race, 3-1, there's an absolutely dreadful price about him. That Aintree race, we discussed it last week with Bobsworth. Bobsworth came out in Hennessy and didn't run a race. It was really disappointing. That Aintree race is worth nothing. It's worth zilch. And I saw a tweet earlier in the week saying Bobsworth off 150 in the 3-mile handicap on good ground, and I was sat there thinking, no, just no.
I wouldn't discount it that much, to be honest.
I would. So he didn't jump great. I think back over hurdles is where you'll get him, but I think he'll be one of them. I don't think he'll win a world hurdle. I think he's one for conditions races, maybe lower grade 3 maybe. But Simon Sigg was an awful price on the basis that he may just travel into the race, but I wouldn't have seen him finding anything off the bridle. He didn't at Aintree, and he's always been a bridle horse.
I have to say, with Bobsworth from that Aintree race, I think it's one of the stupidest arguments in the world to say that Bobsworth didn't run his race in the Hennessy, therefore that race means nothing. Bobsworth didn't jump very well in the Hennessy whatsoever. I'm not saying that you said it, because I know you didn't, but I've seen people say it.
It was
but it's a very...
though. He probably ran to mark. If you're going to assess it as a handicapper, if Smad Place is running to 160, he was beaten 25 lengths, which means he's running to 135, which is about 3 stone off the very best.
I don't think Bobsworth... I solemnly believe that I don't think Bobsworth is a horse that likes chasing anymore. I just don't think he's in love with jumping fences. He was much better when he jumped hurdles. He was much happier. He didn't jump great, no, but he was much happier. I just don't think he enjoys jumping fences anymore. I think that's just the way that he's gone.
Fair enough. But that Aintree race, as I've said, it's worth zilch. And Simon Sigg, I just think, would have found absolutely zilch off the bridle. The people also saying that he was going to progress loads for the run. I saw him at Aintree, and he looked ready enough. And also post-race, I ran down to the winner's enclosure. He wasn't blowing that hard after the race either, Simon Sigg. So it told me he was ready enough to do himself justice. And at the end of the race,
about Simon Sigg, he's always been a bridle horse.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Name one race that he's found more off the bridle. The Neptune, you could say so, but Cotton Mill came down.
Well, Barry
second last.
Barry gave him a squeeze in the Neptune, and he went. In the Arkle, he was wrong, really wrong, and the horse still won. He did come off the bridle, but he didn't quicken. But the reason he didn't quicken is because there was something dreadfully wrong with him, which was a dirty scope.
It's even, you remember the battle he had with Fingal Bay when he ran the Winter Novices hurdle? It was yesterday, 5 years ago. He came there tanking. He found nothing off the bridle. He's just a horse that doesn't find when asked for pressure. I think if you get him a 2-mile race on good ground, maybe even 2.5, then we'll find out how good Simon Sigg still is.
I don't think, but I personally think we won't, because I just think he'd be gone at the game. I don't want that to happen, but it's just the way he ran at Aintree. It was echoes. I know Sprinter Sacre came back, but I think Simon Sigg must have had many more problems than Sprinter, and I just don't see it happening.
I'm not dismissing him that lightly just yet. But anyway, we've got off topic. Badly off topic as well. We'll go back to Aintree. We've got 2 more races still to cover. And the 320 Aintree is the Betfred Grand Sefton handicap chase. The second of 2 races over the Grand National fences for the afternoon. Just got a tweet from Jason Herridge saying, good to see Adam putting his neck on the line and laying a 3-1 shot that isn't going to run. Well done, Adam, on that front.
I just said it would have been a worse value bet ever. Oh.
The Grand Sefton, the 13 going to post over 2 miles, 5 furlongs and 19 yards. Won by some nice types in the past. Paul Master is back to defend his crown. He won this last year. We've also got Rebel Rebellion, who won this 2 years ago. Little Josh won this 3 years ago as well. A fairly classy, a fairly classy roll call the past few years. Rocky Creek, Adam, was sent off, but nigh on favouritism for the Grand National back in April. He drops back to 2 miles, 5 furlongs here. It's an interesting move by Paul Nicholls. I'm not sure what to make of it.
I'm fascinated by it because what I think they'll do with him is they will pop him out handy. They can't hold him up in this because he will not make up ground from the back. The Grand Sefton is a good race for horses that like to race handily. So your horses that you like, your Double Rosses, your Rocky Creeks, Raffling can race handy. Second Sky could potentially go forward as well. They're the horses, and Pool Master as well. They're the horses you need to be concentrating on for this. Rocky Creek, I am fascinated. I don't think he'll win it, but I can see him going very close. And if he does win it off 160, it'd be a hell of a performance. Double Ross is the one for me. I know he's favourite, and it's a favourite backer and all that, but he's come back to the form that, well, not the form he showed when he was a novice chaser, when he was third behind Tack Anderson, when he's come back to the form of a very decent handicap, a second behind Pendra when I said he wouldn't get 3 miles, and then he ran really well in the Paddy Power Gold Cup behind Anacossi. This is the sort of race that will really suit him, and the softer the ground, the better for him. Ryan Hatch could just easily go out in front here, do what Sam Twist and Davis did on Little Josh, basically. And I can see it being similar to 3 years ago where you had Hello Bud win the Beecher, Little Josh win the Grand Sefton. It could be the same here with Algernon Pasm winning the Beecher and Double Ross winning the Grand Sefton. I think it could be simple as that. The one at a bigger price I do like is Rafflin, who was third in the top and behind Reggiani Express. He ill-fated Reggiani Express, and he jumped these fences really well. He was bought for 11,000 by Mickey Hammond, and I think that could be a shrewd purchase. I think he'll go well tomorrow, and they've got eyes to come back here in the spring, maybe for the top and maybe even for the Grand National itself. The ground won't be a concern for him, and Wayne Hutchinson gave Smab Place an unbelievable ride in the Hennessy last week. His confidence will be sky high, and I see him going really well at 14s. There aren't many in this race that I particularly like, if I'm being honest. There are horses here that want decent ground and are not getting it, and they're towards the bottom of the market, like Silver Rock, this time Top Cat Henry. They're horses I've got down as wanting decent ground, so the testing ground tomorrow won't help them. The other one I could see running well is Seven Sky, back in handicap company. He's been overfaced the last twice. This could have been a plan for a bit of time. Charlie Mann likes to target this race as well. He had the lovely Cedra Blur placed in it last year. Poor Sam Whaley Cohen, actually. One of the best riders you'll see around Aintree, and the horse just didn't want to know. Double Ross wins this for me. I just a couple of quid each way Raffling. And interestingly, if Raffling does win, I'm hoping that Nick Rust is at Aintree tomorrow, as he's got a share in Raffling, and Fred Doan will be presenting the trophy to the winner. So that would be an interesting sight to see tomorrow. But we all live and pray.
We're doing this too much on this show. I don't think it's a very good Grand Sefton. I'm going to say that. Double Ross is the most likely winner in my eyes. I think he jumped more than well enough. He's been slowly but surely coming to the boil, I think, this season. There was a good fourth last time in the Paddy Power behind Anacossi. At one point, I thought Double Ross was coming through to win the race. He was second before that to Pendra, the much improved Pendra, when proving to much my surprise and much Adam's surprise, and probably much to Callum's surprise as well, that he does actually stay 3 miles fairly well. That was the first time he's shown that. He's going to need to stay well tomorrow. 2 miles, 5 furlongs, a softer ground. He's going to have to jump well. 9-2 isn't much of a price. Ryan Hatch does take £3 off. 9-2 I wouldn't be getting involved with too heavily. Saying that, I just think he's going to go and win tomorrow. I think he's by far the best of these at the weights anyway. I think Rocky Creek's over the wrong trip, personally. The ground will suit him a lot better than it did back in April. But again, if I was going to have a bet, the real bet having the race would be Seventh Sky. He's having his sights lowered from finishing second behind Coney 2 outings ago, fourth behind Vitor last time out. Putty Zig also in that race, and third Intention as well. He was beaten a long way last time by Vitor. The ground probably was softer than ideal on that occasion. It's going to be a bit better tomorrow, mostly fresh ground as well, raced on once since the Grand National meeting back in April, and that would be earlier on in the afternoon. 146 probably still isn't beyond him. Gavin Sheehan taking the ride for Charlie Man. I think 12 to 1 could be a fair price each way in that regard. Again, back to handicap company last year, he was running pretty well in some pretty valuable races as well. And it was a bit of revelation last year, has to be said. He improved beyond all doubt. 12 to 1, I think 7th Sky could be the each way play of the race. But I agree with you, Adam. Unfortunately, once more, I think Double Ross is the most likely winner in the race. 9 to 2, though.
Why is it unfortunate? I thought I was Mr. Aintree.
Yeah, okay. Moving on. Sandown, their final race on their Tingle Creek meeting. The 2-day meeting comes to an end here, 43.35. One of my favourite races of the year. Not sure why. I just always appreciated it. The Betfred London National Handicap Chase over 3 miles, 4 furlongs and 166 yards. Effectively, it's 3 miles 5 as it used to be before. Remeasured 16 go to post here. A pretty fulfilled, Adam. Usually it's just a race that you may not have the biggest turnout. Tales of Milan won the race last year. He's back to defend his crown. There's no panic for Paul Nicholls won it the year before that. So it's a fairly well supported race once more. And the Bet365 Gold Cup winner from last jump season, Just Depart, turns up once more.
He does. We've been talking about Aintree all afternoon. We've had the Grand National fences. I think the Grand National winner is running in this race, and he is favourite in Carroll Destrier. I know Luke disagrees with me on this, but I just think Carroll Destrier would be the ideal horse for Aintree, and he's got a big chance here tomorrow with Noel Feely. He ran really well on his comeback run, and I happened to ask Noel Feely a couple of days later at Carlisle. I went up and I just said, do you think Carroll Destrier could be the type of horse to excel around Aintree? And his answer wasn't sort of like, oh, maybe. It was a straight answer of yes. Oh, yes. And I was like, right, I'm going away. Excuse me. Will Betfair put him up in the markets? No, they won't. I think he has a big...
They will if he wins the race sponsored by them tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, they will. And then they'll put him in at something like 30s or something. And no value in that whatsoever at this time of the year anyway. So I think he'll go really close tomorrow. I'm not sure about winning. I think he is one of the classier horses in the race. Obviously, Just Depart as well. But Just Depart, I'm going to echo what I said about him before the Paddy Power meeting. I think he'll need this run as well. Sean Bowen rides him as well, actually. Sam Twiston-Davies rides for his dad on Count Guido there. Yeah. So you've got Sean Bowen on that, and I can see why Sean Bowen's on Just Depart, because he gets on well with him, and I think he'll probably need this as well. The main selection is a horse at a price. Now, Luke told me to give up on this horse when I mentioned it off air, but Gosmy Judge was not right last season, and he ran in the Grand National. He disappointed in the National, but he came back, and Wayne Hutchinson had said that he made a noise, so they gave him a wind up. He moved to David Dennis. This was a decision made by the owners. The owners moved all their horses from various trainers, so it's no falling out or anything like that, to David Dennis. And Trevor Whelan takes the ride. I thought he ran really well at Cheltenham. He needed the run, and he showed all that old spark was still there. And I just think in a race like this, he needs his mark to go up for the Grand National later in the year. I think this is the type of race he could win, and it is decent ground as well. The last time he did run in this race, he disappointed, but that was when Alan King's horses were going off the boil due to a virus. So I think he'll go really well tomorrow. Others to mention, Restless Harry has his chances. He was third in the Bet365 a couple of years ago. I can see him going really well. Mountainous is one that I think wants soft the ground, but it's good to see him back in form. I think all roads lead to Chepstow for the Welsh National with him. And Kerry Lee had a winner with Grey Gold last week on Channel 4. So it'd be nice to see her do it again. Gosmy Judge, I think, is your likely winner at 20 to 1. Carroll Destrier will run his race. Hopefully he runs a race, keeps the mark similar to where it is now, and then he'll go and win in April.
I agree with Carroll Destrier as well. It's a horse I've liked for quite a long time. I backed him throughout the course of the National Hunt season last year, but the handicap is giving him a real chance here. He finished 5th, beat in a fair way behind Saphir de Rua at Aintree in Grade 1 company. He's dropped £3 for that. He was then behind Dropout Joe in the Badge Rails. He was dropped another £3 for that, but he did travel very strongly in that race and just shaped as if he really badly quite needed to run. Off a mark of 146 tomorrow, he's now only £4 above his last winning mark at Ascot when in handicap company, partnered by Barry Geraghty on that occasion. It's Noel Feely tomorrow. That's no bad thing whatsoever. I think he could take a lot of beating tomorrow. We've mentioned enough probably about Carroll Destrier already. I think he's the most likely winner. Won at a huge price, and I'm not really sure why he's this sort of price. As summary justice, Venetia Williams Yard are in fantastic form. Had a winner at Exeter this afternoon. Charlie Deutsch takes £5 off. Could be a very interesting jockey booking now, claiming £5 off of it. Oh, go on, Adam.
I can tell you why he's that price. He cannot jump to save his life. That's why.
Okay. Charlie Deutsch takes £5 off, effectively running off a mark of 130. 135 is the official mark. 25 to 1 is huge. He was on, well, he unseated his rider the last twice we saw him. But before that, he ran a huge effort to finish second in the Ida. Softer ground is much more his forte, and he just keeps staying and staying and staying. If he can stay upright, just to make Adam happy, then he should be going fairly close. Sandown's a fairly tricky jumping track, but he'll be staying on when others are crying enough. But I think Carlos Destrier, I do completely agree with you, Adam, that Carlos Destrier is the most likely winner. I think he could just be a class above these, if I'm being quite honest. But he's not a national horse.
He is.
Okay. He's not a national horse.
Galloping track, Aintree, 4.5 mile, or 4 mile, however far it is now. 30
ideal horse for he's an ideal horse for a Scottish national.
No, Aintree.
Okay. Right. Still time to get your tweets in to us. @On the Other Hoof is our Twitter tag. Any questions, fancies, or anything about the upcoming weekend of racing that you'd like to put out there, we'll read out very shortly indeed. Jackadown as well will be back in action on Sunday. Over in Ireland at Punchestown. Any views on Jackadown for the upcoming season? Any views on anything for the upcoming season that you've seen at this point so far? Do get your tweets in. @On the Other Hoof is our Twitter tag. I'm going to start them off by reading out Skeletor's tweets. It says, I'm not sure he's a bet now, 7 runners, but expecting a big run from Joss's Hill. Hope they've taught him to jump this summer. I could see Joss's Hill running a big race.
If they've got his jumping right, then yeah. But remembering how he was last season, he was ponderous. And when I remember at Kempton the day when he jumped that open ditch and he stood so far off it, he just frightens himself at fences. I just felt
he's sort of horse that would be it'd be perfect to back in running. If he jumps the first one, he jumps the open ditch in front of the stands well, then he could be a bit of a proposition. But
I'd still be worried about him down the far side, because if he guesses at one, that's confidence gone for me. So
you'd want to see it first, but interesting. Yeah. And then he goes on to agree with you, Adam, with Portrait King. It's got to be going. Excuse me. It's got to be going close in the feature. I'm already on at 20s, but I may have to have a second dip in. Best of luck with Portrait King. Unfortunately, Adam's put the moppers on that. Tony Amato has tweeted in saying that Wild West Wind in the 12:20 at Chepstow looked a nice thing in the paddock at Bangor. I'm hopeful this trip and hurdles will help him out. He also says Flying Angel in the 105 at Aintree should be the banker up today. Worry is the trip, but will love the ground at short price, but should win.
Well, on the latter, if they send him forward and make use of his stamina, then yeah, I agree. As I've said earlier, Twiston Davis could have 4 winners at Aintree. Bally Beaufort runs in a handicap chase. He's another one that they'd have to send forward, as they're both running over shorter than what they were last time. And obviously he's got the 2 in the race over national fences. So Ryan Hatch could ride a 4-timer. Nigel could have 5 winners, 4 at Aintree and Bristol to Mye, obviously. So it could be a very good day for them.
I agree with that. And then he's asked us to give a mention to Jumping Prospects update. That'll be out next week. Details at jumpingprospects.com. John Morris, he says thanks. I think I've read that wrong. Jumpingprospects.com. I think that's how it is. I assume it's the book that has Jumping Prospects in it, written by John Morris. So do go check that out. Thank you to Tony for that. Kai Wills then sends in his first of many questions this week, and on the other hand, saying, would you be concerned about Don Poley first time out tomorrow? Yes.
Yes.
Good. Yes, thank you. Wrap that one up. Bristol to Mye, nap of the day, boys. No.
No, but he was one of the candidates I had in mind for nap of the day. We'll say that.
We've got Tebob in. We've got a question about Tebob.
Yes. He was really impressive on his chase debut. Good shout.
Tebob at Navan, boys. Thoughts was impressed last run. Well, someone, I don't mean to blow anyone's trumpets, but someone put off the horse to follow.
Over hurdles, not as a novice chaser.
Well, what? I said there's an option for him to go chasing as well.
True, but you put him in the hurdlers category, so I'm joking.
Just because you had 1 winner.
Yeah, all right. It's been shocking. I'll freely admit my horses to follow this year so far has been absolutely shocking, and we will not talk about last Saturday because that was a nightmare. I had 8 horses run over the Hennessy meeting and not one of them won. And the main one.
Can we talk about Tebob?
Yes, of course we can. Good
Much
horse.
easier. Very impressive first time out. Moyle Park, it was annoying that Moyle Park did do what he did. I'm not really sure what he did, actually. He just walked through the rail, stopped. I think the saddle went on him. There was a bit of an equipment failure, but he walked through the rail effectively after the first fence. Then the second or third favourite, sorry, he was the second favourite, Tebob. The fourth favourite was the only one left standing at the head of the market other than Tebob after the second fence, because the first Jingerstown horse fell. So you could argue he's potentially a bit flattered in that. He didn't beat a great deal, but he went a lightning pace round and was absolutely electric at Turles on Chase debut. Jumped absolutely superbly, didn't miss a beat whatsoever. The one worry I had with him last season is he didn't really see out 3 miles. I don't think he's a 3-miler at all, to be honest. I think 2.5 miles will be his bag. But 2 miles 1 tomorrow in a grade 3, and what looks to be a weak enough grade 3 anyway. I think he's going to take all the beating. I don't really like the price that he's opened up at, though, at 13 to 8. I think he could have potentially had a bit more value on that front, but I think he's an absolute certainty tomorrow, if I'm being quite honest.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think he is someone to beat. I was really impressed with his chasing debut as well, so not much more to add.
Kai's unrelated question of the week. He says he's had a sore throat for a ridiculously long time. I apologise for that, Kai. Have you tried like soothers or tunes?
You might want to go get that checked out at the doctors if you've had it for a long time. Depends how long it's been, but go get it checked just in case. And if we save your life.
He says, and it pees him off. What pees you off, boys?
Oh, lots of things.
I said to Adam off air, incompetency.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. There's a lot of things that pee me off. Too many to list. Far too many to list.
But no, incompetence is the main thing that annoys me. And also, the other thing that really annoys me, actually, is when you could have bubble wrap to coat your delivery on whatever's coming in a box. But they use polystyrene in it. Why would you use polystyrene when you've got bubble wrap?
Funnily enough, you're not the only person that doesn't like polystyrene. My mum's boyfriend the other day, a box came. He opened it. It was polystyrene. He just goes, "Can you get it out of the box for me?" I was like, "Why?" He said, "I don't like polystyrene." I was like, "Right, you're not the only person."
Amazing person. Big fan of that guy. But why use polystyrene when you can use bubble wrap?
He's also a southerner as well, so southerners.
Oh, what guy? I prefer this guy. He's my favourite person in your household. A second mention for Portrait King comes in courtesy of QJ II. He's saying he's been overlooked. Has he been overlooked in the Beecher? Probably not now.
Not anymore.
No.
Well, he was overlooked. Yeah, he's shot 12, actually.
He's 12 killed. Yeah. QJ then goes on to say, is a flat track and a small field what Don Poli wants tomorrow? Could this trip in conditions be ideal for Rocky Creek? Don Poli, I don't think he wants a small field, to be honest. I think he wants them to go a relentless gallop. I think the Gold Cup will be when we see Don Poli at his best.
I'd agree with that, definitely. And I don't think Aintree's mile make-off. Willie Mullins did say in his Sabletoy he'd love to give him an entry in the Grand National because he thinks that type of race would suit him. And I wouldn't disagree with Willie on that. But
I wouldn't.
Pardon?
I wouldn't.
Oh, you wouldn't? All right. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with him. So, not this year anyway. 7-year-olds don't really have the best of records. And plus, he doesn't have the experience yet to go around Aintree. Maybe next year. Who knows?
And the conditions will be ideal for Rocky Creek, but I don't think the trip will be on that front. Keisha then goes on to say...
You need to stay, though, over 2 mile 5 on Aintree. I mean, there are horses
that
you
need to keep up.
Yeah, I think he'll keep up.
I'm not sure. I'm not sold. Keisha then goes on to say, there are 29 runners in Irish novice hurdle. Only 2 are shorter than 14 to 1. How many cows are there? I'm not sure. I was never good at national school. It sounds like one of those horrible math questions that you get when you eat 14 buffalo wings. How many chickens have you got left? Makes no sense.
How many cows of it? Well, I'll have an educated guess. I'd say about 15, maybe 16.
Well, let's move over that one. Kev the punter says, Restless Harry tomorrow in the London National. Bit of a monkey, but is tomorrow the day?
Could be.
Harsh to call him a monkey.
Henry Oliver's in really good form at the minute. That is something that I've noticed. He's one of these smaller trainers that's coming up the ranks. He's got horses like Dresden, Whispering Harry ran really well last week. Yeah, I see him going well tomorrow. I see him running a big race, actually.
I do. I think he shaped quite nicely at Banger first time out, actually, behind What a Good Night. I wouldn't put you off of him anyway. Phil Dinsdale's asking how Callum Adele is. He's fine. He's absolutely wonderful. He flies to Hong Kong. Excuse me. He flies to Hong Kong on Sunday. He's at a Christmas fair this evening, so unfortunately he couldn't join us. But he passes on his thanks, I guess. Chris P. Bacon, wonderful name. Fantastic name, Chris. Saying Vibrato Valtat is a massive price, whatever he is against that field. A much better horse this year.
I agree with him on saying he is a massive price, because for me, he's got the least amount of questions to answer. Much better horse. I'm not fully signed up yet, but he is at the same level he probably was last season. He maybe has improved a couple of pounds. I wouldn't say he's improved massively.
I think, as I'm saying, also Special Tiara is going to serve it up to him on a plate, and he'll be spot on after Exeter. I don't necessarily agree with that, to be honest. I think Special Tiara could get him in trouble at a very early stage.
But that run at Navan last time with Special Tiara, it was awful.
Dreadful, yeah.
Even if he needed allowing him to need the run, being beaten 50 lengths by Hidden Cyclone. No.
It was a funny race, though. I have to say that.
It was a really weird
start, absolutely tanking through the whole race. But moving on from that, I don't agree necessarily that Special Tiara will serve a race up on a plate to Vibrato Valtat. If anything, I think it could be the opposite. I think Special Tiara could ruin the race for Vibrato Valtat in essence. Phil Dinsdale then comes in with a question after checking on Callum Adele's health, saying, I think Oliver Sherwood and Nigel Twiston-Davies can have a good day at Aintree tomorrow, guys. What do you think?
Yes.
Adam, do you think Nigel Twiston-Davies can have a good day tomorrow?
Yes, I do. And Oliver Sherwood could as well, yeah. And he clouds all in hope. So, yeah. And Morgan Reggie has a squeak in a handicap. He fell at Newbury last time, but I think a smaller field will help him. So, yeah, they both could have really good days tomorrow.
Matt Wynn, top knot from New Zealand, has sent in his fancies for tomorrow. The 12:30, he's gone for Morning Reggie. He's gone for Algernon Pazam and Sol in the Beecher Chase at Aintree. 2:15, he's gone for Don.
No.
Don Poli? Don Poli, right. This is not helping at all. He hasn't even put the courses. The 3:20 at Aintree, this will be in the Grand Sefton, is Double Ross. In the 1:20 at Sandown, I think that is, box office. And in the Henry VIII, he's gone for Bristol Demai. And in the Tingle Creek, he's gone for Sire. And then he's put a hashtag that I refuse to read out because we have young viewers.
How did you get that, by the way?
It's from him. It's from him.
Oh.
Chelsea. Phil Dinsdale then. Phil has said something that, talking bollocks, to be quite frank. Talking utter bollocks. He says also the card at Chepstow as a betting prospect is so much better than Sandown tomorrow.
It's a good card at Chepstow. I will agree with him on that. And there are one or two bets have been. There's
plenty of betting opportunities at Sandown tomorrow if that's more your bag. But
and Aintree.
Nonsense there. Kev the Punter then says, what do you guys think of the Supreme Novices market? Modus at 20-1, still fair, especially if impressing that a room at the Betfred hurdle.
That run last week, he'll win the Betfair hurdle for me. How far I think is the distance? I think he's been really impressive. I mean, you weren't convinced about him as a hurdler, and I'm not going to say you're wrong. I feel like I think you were right to have.
Oh, no, I'm wrong. No, I'm very much wrong.
But you were. I think you were right to have concerns, especially with and the fact that how he's been trained.
Naturally, you have to. I mean, he was kept for bumpers for 2 years. I mean, you have to be concerned. But I will say one thing against him: he doesn't look like a hurdler at all. He's very, very, for want of a better term, and it's a bad term. Stringy. He's not got a lot of muscle on him. He's very tall. He hasn't filled out a great deal.
I get that, but his hurdling though is solid, and I think he'll win the Betfair hurdle. The Supreme at the minute is just such a I'm looking at the market now. It's such a confusing race because you've got an unraced horse in Ireland who is effectively the biggest hype horse I've seen since LA Columbia last year in Min, who we haven't seen yet. Belvedere, who's very impressive at Newbury last week, but the problem is Nicky Henderson hasn't won the Supreme in God knows how many, 1992, the year I was born. But there are other horses in the race. You just look at the market. Modus is potentially still a bit of value at 20s with a bookmaker I wouldn't bet with. Telesport, maybe. The other one, 16s. 16s across the board. We'll go with that.
I wouldn't put you off Modus, I'll say that.
I wouldn't.
Jason Harris has asked What have we got against Northern Curry Houses? Bad signage, mate. Bad signs.
I have nothing against them. It's him that's got the problem.
Phil Dinsdale is also questioning why I've got a tie on. Some of us work for a living, Phil. Also, I wanted to look pretty. Phil's then called you a jinx as well. I will say that. He
always calls me a jinx. It's a weekly occurrence of Mr. Jinx. So.
Tony Marto said he couldn't have any Mullins runner outside of Cheltenham. The record is appalling.
Ascot last week.
Yeah,
I get what he's saying though. I do understand his point.
Jatandi Burley won the Scilly Isles last year.
Yeah, I can get his point though. I
think you've got to take into regard what horse it is. I mean, Jatandi Burley at Carlisle, I wouldn't have backed last week. I'm not saying I would have backed the horse that beat it. I wouldn't have backed in the race. But
yeah. Although there was somebody who said to me that Jatanda Burley was the best one to free shot they'd ever seen, and he got beat.
Yeah, about that. But I think you've got to take into account what horse it actually is. Kijay II has asked a question purely for Adam's entertainment, I think.
Oh, God.
Said, what benefits are there to the new Grand National time?
Oh, no. Okay, well, let's be neutral for a second. The benefit that they seem to think will happen is the fact that it won't clash with football games. So therefore, punters, football fans can go home and watch them. It's not going to make much of a difference for me. There are so many problems with it for me. And Aintree have announced it like it's a brilliant idea. And every member of the racing media that I have read commenting on this have said it's a brilliant idea. I don't think it is. You've got other factors. It's not just for, well, it's mainly the television audiences that this is the benefit for. The cons are for people that actually go there on the day, like myself and many other people. You have transport links. They're going to become more compact, if you get what I mean. Because normally the National was the 5th race. You had 2 races afterwards and the crowds would leave. In saying that, Aintree and Merseyside Police and all the various staff at Merseyrail, they do a fantastic job with it every year. It's always well run. There are trains, I think, every 7.5 minutes. But just the problem is, I think after the National, you've only got 1 race, and I think it could be a very tight squeeze getting out, and it will push public transport limits as well. Also, the fact you've got an extra hour, it means an extra hour of drinking, and the amount of people that will start drinking at 9 o'clock in the morning will be absurd. And by 5:15, it could be a sight on the mound where I normally stand with people falling down it due to being too intoxicated. So there are some positives, but I'm mainly very against the idea. I just don't see it. I can see why they're doing it, but I'd rather they didn't. I think 4:15 is perfect. Or if you want an audience at football matches, do it at half time, like 4:45, 10:40, which is where they used to have the National. That would be perfect.
They've done that before, because I've watched the National when I was at Chelsea and a season ticket. I watched it on the big screen at half time.
Oh, who won the race? Do you remember?
I have no idea. It was a while ago.
It would have been the early 2000s, or something like Bindery, Amberley House. Oh, Amberley House. What a horse.
It wasn't Amberley House.
Monty's Pass. I was ill that day. Oh, poor me.
But that has happened before.
Yeah, that's how I think it should be, and it would work better. Although, in saying that, I do like 4:15 as a time. I think it's the ideal point for the Grand National. But also, just very quickly, one more point on this. The Grand National is normally the main event on that Saturday. Now we're catering for football and other sports. I don't think we should be like that. I think we should be the standout event on that day. Why should we move ourselves to other sports?
Because we're not a big sport.
But we are on that one day, if you get what I'm saying. We still get a fair television audience.
Yeah, but we're not that big.
Oh, you know what I mean, though. But it's the big event. It's our sporting event. The one time of the year, apart from maybe Cheltenham, maybe the Derby and Royal Ascot, the Grand National is thrust onto the public's attention. So, yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't really have that much of a view, to be honest. I can see why it'd be a good idea. I can see why it'd be a bad idea. But,
it's an awful idea, personally. I was fuming earlier in the week.
Yeah, I'm not really sure, to be honest. I don't really have that strong a view on it, if I'm being perfectly honest. At least Tony Marto agrees with you. Said the moving of the national time is a silly idea. The last tweet that we've got time for this evening, the last tweet that we've got in as well. It is nap time, Adam. Who are you siding with?
Good question. My nap tomorrow, I'm going to go with a horse we haven't mentioned yet. I'm going to go with the 245 at Aintree. I'm going to side with Quilando. He is overpriced in that handicap hurdle. I think Virgilio is the one to beat, but I think Quilando's a big price, and the step up in trip will really suit him.
Yeah, I agree with Quilando. And we've said that we can't nap Vincenzo Mio because Nick's put it up, obviously. So that'll be the honour of the hoof nap for the day. I'm going to nap in the 120 at Sandown. I'm going to nap Simply a Legend. He's off a mark of 1, 2, 3. He's got Tom Bellamy taking £3 off. He's currently about 9 to 1. I think this is possibly the best each way bet I've ever seen in my whole life. You've got 3 placings. He ran very well last time behind Condor Banker, ahead of Vincenzo Mio. Steps up slightly in trip tomorrow. The ground's going to be absolutely fine. They just don't want it too soft for Simply a Legend. The Alan King yard are in absolutely fantastic form. Big Saturday winners galore with the yard, especially in these colours as well, with Anacotti winning at the Paddy Power. He's still 6. He's still getting better and better all the time. The ground's going to be no problem whatsoever. And he was there with a chance over the last at Sandown last time. He stopped very quickly. He needed to run quite badly. He'd been off for quite a while. He'll be much fitter tomorrow, and I'd be very disappointed if he wasn't going very, very close indeed tomorrow afternoon. I'd be disappointed as well if he didn't win. But he's a horse that I rate fairly highly in this grade. I also think Tebop is an absolute certainty in the grade 3 chase over in Ireland. It's not a very good price at 13 to 8. But I'm finding it very hard indeed to get him beaten. And those are the naps for tomorrow. Callum didn't send one in. We'll give him Pinot de Rey. Callum, nap Pinot de Rey.
He actually did say earlier that he would back Pinot de Rey tomorrow, and I do think he has a good chance tomorrow. Before we go very quickly, we forgot to mention last week the retirement of Rock on Ruby, who has been a stalwart for Harry Fry and Paul Nicholls down the years, and is a horse that I think we've all had a soft spot for as well. So I hope he has a long and happy retirement.
I still can't believe he managed to win a champion hurdle when I backed him on that day.
After timer. No, I'm joking.
Not an after timer. I was, as I said before the race, I think Rock on Ruby, if you back him each way, I think he's got a good chance of sneaking third for each way money here.
And
in terms of home 3 lengths ahead, I'm like, huh?
He was one of those highlights, though, last season, Rock on Ruby, in those 2.5 mile hurdles, because all these young pretenders that come to him and you think, oh, you've got improvers coming up against him, but yet he still ran to his mark, and he still won. He was very impressive on both his starts at Cheltenham last year. One more question from Kai Wills. He asks us, what do we think of Tombstone for Gordon Elliott? I thought he was impressive last week. He may just got stuck on the trip. But Luke prefers Death Duty.
It looks very good indeed. Thank you guys for tuning in this week. Apologies, Callum Liddell had better things to do by going to a Christmas fair. But thank you, Adam, for joining us once more. You're at Aintree tomorrow. I'm at Sandown. If you guys do see us, do come and say hello. It's always nice to put a name to a face and meet you guys out in public. But have a good day wherever you're going tomorrow. If it's in the comfort of your armchair, you enjoy that armchair. Have a good day of betting tomorrow. Have a good weekend of betting. We'll see you next week, though, on the Other Hoof. Back for Cheltenham.